Well, 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 what are we doing here? Car parts. It's always a good day when car parts show up, right? Yeah. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you had a great weekend. Today we're installing car parts on the Camaro. We have a cold air intake, and we got something else as well, which I didn't reveal to too many people yet. But I'll show you guys that at the end of the video. Happy Monday. Well, I guess a lot of you aren't too happy about Monday, really. But I'm off today, so hey, I'll take it. So let's jump right in. Enjoy the video. All right, so this here is the Rotofab cold air intake. I already went through the box, made sure everything was in here, did a parts inventory. Get the instructions out here. Let's take a look at those. Yeah, we did have everything in here. Pretty standard stuff when it comes to cold air intakes. Step one is to disconnect the battery, which I've already done. So let's get the old one out and get this going. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is disconnect this breather tube here. That'll be right here. Should just be able to squeeze that. Pop that right off just like that. There we go. Next we gotta pop this clip off that retains the MAF sensor wiring harness, which should be right here. There we go. I have this rag here, that way none of my tools fall down into the abyss. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt getting them out of there. All right, so we're gonna take a T20 Torx bit, which I already have right here. We're gonna unscrew the MAF sensor and move it out of the way, that way it doesn't get damaged. There we go. Get something with a longer snout. Come on. There we go. All right, screws out. We're gonna gently move this out of the way. Be careful not to damage it. And there we have it, MAF sensor. Yeah, let's just do this. There we go. Okay. All right, so we're gonna disconnect the tube here. All right, so next we're gonna grab our 8mm ratchet and undo these clamps. And that one's already loose. Don't need to back them off too far, just enough to slide them off. All right, let's see if we can wiggle this out of here. Here we go. And now this one. All right. There we have it. That's out of the way. All right, so next we have to undo this retainer here, then install a zip tie to hold these hoses in place. Zip ties, there we have them. My body pin pry tool, we'll try it out. There we go. Okay, that's disconnected. All right, so we got that undone. Now it's time to get the airbox out of here. Just like that. Pops right out. All right, so we're gonna take the zip tie and we're gonna take these hoses here, pretty much secure them to the AC line, keep them out of the way of the pulley here. So let's do that now. Now we don't want it too tight, just tight enough to hold it out of the way. Get my handy dandy snips. There we go. All right, so next we gotta use the number 17 cable tie just before the protective sheath to secure the two lines shown in illustration 7. Do not pull tight. Leave approximately 1/8 inch gap between the two lines. Snip the end once secured. Well, we'll see how that works. There's that. So next we have to remove these two bolts, which will work out nice because I'm missing these two bolts in another spot, so I'll just take these bolts out and put them in the spot that we're missing. Now I don't gotta worry about replacing them. So we're gonna take this one out of here. And we're gonna remove this one. Try here. Okay, that one works. Let's try this again. So now we took those out, we gotta replace the bolts with the number 16 M6 black button head flanged bolts. All right, let's get them. That's gonna be these right here. Razor blade safety is very important. Please be careful when using razor blades. All right, and we're gonna use a number 4 hex head to tighten these. Basically, we're swapping these out because the head of the factory bolts will tear up the seal around the air box of the new intake. We definitely don't want that to happen. All right, so the next step is we got to remove the small breather fitting from the stock inlet elbow shown in illustration 9. All right, let's get that out of there. The clamp can be removed by using a small screwdriver to pry up on the end or tail of the clamp. Once you have access to the tail, grasp with side cuts or pliers to pull upwards in a twisting motion. Set the fitting aside for reuse. So basically we're going to pry up on this. Ow, shit. Ah, that hurt. Whew. I don't think I broke the skin. I think we're okay. All right, let's try this again. Well, we're bleeding a little bit. Whew. Yeah, we're bleeding. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay, we got the tube out. Let's move this razor blade out of the way before we do more damage, more injury. All right, let's see. Set that aside. All right, now we got to get the airbox assembly out, the MAF sensor housing. And 5, number 14, Phillips screws. Okay, so this here is the MAF sensor housing. Let's go ahead and dig that out. Remove this label before installing. Use only the M4 X.7 screws provided for MAF sensor mounting. Okay. All right, so now we got to mount this to the airbox assembly. Wow, that thing is huge. The 5 bolts that mount the MAF sensor housing to the box should be these 5 right here. You've got to be kidding me. All right, so the box goes like that. We're going to take this, mount it. Get that started in. See, I'm reading again here. It says make sure the MAF sensor is pretty much lined up with the screw that's in the 10 o'clock position, which it is. Okay, we're good. Now we're going to tighten all these down. Next, we're going to locate the number 13 bulb seal, which is 12 1/8 inch long. Starting from the bottom as shown in illustration 11, install on a large radius. Push firmly to be sure it is completely seated. That's the seal right here. Gonna work it on here like so. There we go. Make sure it's on there nice and tight. Next step is to locate the number 5, 4 5/8 inch black hump hose coupler and one of the number 7, 110 and 130 millimeter hose clamps. We're gonna want this one. All right, so basically we're gonna slide it onto the MAF sensor housing. Now this coupling is pretty symmetrical, so it doesn't really matter which way you put it on. Just like that. I want the hose clamp facing up. That's why it's easy to tighten. All right, let's go ahead and tighten that. Now before we tighten this down too tight, we want to make sure that's aligned and not going on crooked. Nothing annoys me more than a crooked hose clamp. Tight enough for me. All right. So next we gotta do the fittings here for the breather tube. We need the elbow, the hose, and the clamp. Okay, so we're gonna take our breather tube, which I set aside right here. Make sure we have it oriented the right way. We do. Slide that on here. All right, so slid that on nice and tight. Got our clamp. Use the ratchet for this. It's a 1/4 inch clamp. Now don't tighten it too tight. You don't want to crush this fitting. That's good enough. It's not going anywhere. Okay. So the thread at the end of the elbow points upwards, and no clamp is needed for this end of the tube. So we have that assembled. Now we got to screw it into the elbow here, the intake elbow. Let's get this unwrapped. Man, they really know how to wrap these things up, don't they? All right, finally got that unwrapped. Inlet elbow, install the breather assembly into the brass fitting on the elbow. Note the fitting is NPT, tapered pipe thread, and not designed to bottom out. Once hand tight, tighten one more revolution and line up with the alignment mark on the tube. All right, so after some finagling, we got that on there finally. We have the hose lined up with the indicator marks on the bottom of the elbow. All right, let's get this put in. But first we gotta install this coupler on the throttle body. Gonna need a number 6, 4 to 4.5 step hose, and one of the number 8, 100, 120 millimeter hose clamps. All right, let's get that. All right, so we got our coupler, hose clamp. By the looks of it, the smaller end here goes on the throttle body itself. I'm just tightening the clamp a little bit so it's not so big and loose going on there. It's on here just like this. Voila. Gonna tighten our clamp. Once again, we'll make sure that this clamp isn't crooked. So we're gonna straighten it a little bit and tighten it down, but not too tight. So next up is we're gonna install the air box into the car. Apply a small amount of lubricant around the beveled area of all 3 mounting studs on the air box. Set the air box in place in the car with all 3 studs resting on top of the respective mounting brackets. Using both hands shown in illustration 16, press firmly and uniformly to seat the studs into the grommets simultaneously. All right, rut rope. We gotta get that grommet. I didn't realize that it came off of the original air box. Yeah, there it is. Wiggle that off of there. There we go. And that one. Put these back in here like so. The instructions just say you can use glass cleaner, so that's what I'm going to do. Just going to wet them a little bit. Alright, so we're going to slide that under there like that. That one's lined up, and this one's lined up. Alright. Perfect. Last one. Hump hose number 3 inlet elbow and 2 hose clamps should be ready to drop into the car as one unit. Place a shop rag in the area shown to prevent scratching of the cold air intake components. Let me get a rag here. So we're going to set the rag over the edge of the radiator. My first Camaro, I didn't do this, and I found out the hard way. I did in fact scratch up the intake elbow, but it was on the bottom of the unit, so you couldn't really see it. Alright, so hose clamps, this one's larger. Get that debris out of here. This is going to go on here like this. I'm going to tighten it to take some of the slack out of it. Not too tight though. Same with this one. You can see now why they want you to put the rag in here, because it's a tight fit. You know what? Let's pop this out here for a minute. Okay. Okay. Now let's try this again. Okay, that's all in. Now we're going to tighten these hose clamps. I might have made that a little too tight. Okay, that's in. That's as snug as that's going to get, so let's tighten this clamp down. Okay. So that part's in. Next up, we got to reconnect the breather fitting. Right here. Just like that. Make sure it's out of the way of the pulleys. Yeah, it should be fine. Alright, this here is a step where we reinstall the MAF sensor. We're going to be very gentle in doing so. We don't want to mess it up. So yeah, let's get the screws. Should be right here. Alright, gently. Ooh. There we go. Gently pull this out and reinstall. Slide that in very carefully. Yeah, I'm not liking that. Hold on. I'm not getting a good angle of sliding the sensor in here, and I don't want to jam it in there. Let's pull this out again for a second. Alright, let's try this again. Much better. Okay. Alright, so MAF sensor's installed. Alright, next up, locate the number 12 hood seal. That's this big guy right here. We're going to slide it over the top of the intake box. We'll start at the far edge right here. We're going to make sure we push this on as tight as we can. It's a pain in the butt to get these seals around these corners sometimes. I think that's the best we're going to get that on there. Next up, air filter. Oh yeah, it's a nice one. Now this time I went with a dry filter setup. The oiled one is good, but you take the chance of getting those oils on your MAF sensor, and you really don't want that, so I got the dry guy this time. Let's slide this in here like that. Let me check my alignment here. Yeah, I gotta wiggle around a little bit more. There we go. Now you're gonna wanna make sure the screw here is facing up, that way it's not hard to get to in the future when you gotta do maintenance. All right, should be it. Let's get our tools out of here and admire the beauty. That is the Rotofab cold air intake. There we go. So yeah, Rotofab, if you got a Camaro, I highly recommend them. They're well known in the Camaro community. I guarantee you, if you ask 8 out of 10 people, they're gonna recommend Rotofab. Now, you can get a big gulp system, which I think adds like 40% more air coming in. But with that setup, you definitely need a tune. And you know, that's probably a better intake to have if you're running headers, other supporting mods as well. But I don't have any of that. Everything else is factory on this car for now, so this intake here will be just fine. It'll do the job. So yeah, check them out. Now we're gonna make sure we got everything buttoned up here. Looks good to me. Yeah, looks good. Not a bad install. And as always, you get an awesome sticker with your purchase. Alright, so we're going to let the car warm up for a minute or two. I'll do a baby rev or two. Nothing too crazy. I don't want to make the neighbors angry. And they say that this intake will also help give you more volume as far as your supercharger line. We'll find out here in a minute. Alright guys, there you have it. Rotofab cold air intake all installed. Hope you enjoyed the video. It sounds good. Even with the small revs I did, I noticed a big difference. I can't wait to get it out and really hammer on it. I'll be sure to give you guys a video of that one. It should sound pretty good. So yeah, if you have a 6th gen Camaro, I highly recommend the Rotofab cold air intake. The other car parts, yes, I didn't forget about those. I'll give you a hint. There's 4 of them. Can you guess what it is? I'll give you a minute. It shouldn't need that long. If you guessed wheels, you're right. Apex SM10s. Satin black finish. Fronts are 19 by 11, the rears are 19 by 12. Pretty light for what they are. I can't wait to get these put on. They're gonna look phenomenal on the car. So yeah, I got one more goodie on the way. It's not here yet. It's running late. I was hoping it'd be here by now. That one there, I'll leave that a surprise. I'll make another video on that one. All right guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a big thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe. Thank you, have a great day.